We are here in this event organized by Marmara Municipalities Union. Welcome. Our panelists and audience, welcome. In this session, our theme is what goes around comes around, rethinking social policies. So I would like to introduce the subject before the panelists. As I've said, what goes around comes around is the theme of this session. It's usually used here, it's used in social policies framework. So we are going to focus on that aspect of the saying, what goes around comes around. So when I saw this headline, this theme of the session, I thought about this. Social policies are all about what municipalities do for the people in need. But when you say what goes around comes around, it implies that this goodness, this help, goes both ways. And I want to listen your ideas, what you believe, in your opinions. I want to introduce the panelists here, according to the ranking in front of me. We have Mr. Volkan Yılmaz, Associate Professor. He's working in public policy in Dublin City University. And we have Mr. Kemal Deniz Bozkurt, Mayor from Esenyurt Municipality, Mayor of Esenyurt Municipality. And then we have Ms. İnci Parlaktuna, Associate Professor on Economics from Eskişehir Osman Gazi University. And last but not least, we have Osman İpekçioğulları. He is the founder of the Kalbi Selim Education, Culture and Solidarity Association. Kalbi Selim, a word with special meaning in Turkish. It's an old word, and it means someone with a calm and serene heart. So without further ado, we can go to the presentations. According to the ranking I have here in front of me, I would like to give the floor to Mr. Volkan Yılmaz. We are each going to have about 10 minutes to present, and if we need it afterwards, we can give you a couple of additional minutes to answer questions. Thank you very much for the introduction. Welcome. Today, I'm going to talk about local governments and social policies. In doing that, I want to explain what I mean by social policies. In the kind introduction of Mr. Taşçı, he talked about goodness, kindness acts, but I want to change that definition a bit. I want to give a new definition. It's when you say goodness, doing good to someone, it implies a preference to do so. But I think social policies are one of the mandatory aspects of the government. I believe it's one of the primary duties of the government. As you all know, not just in Turkey, but in the whole world, there is a great income inequality. And Turkey gets its fair share from that inequality. And this great inequality we have, there's a serious inequality issue. When that is the case, when people are accessing their fundamental needs, this inequality disrupts that. For example, drinking water in Istanbul was problematic. We used to buy it mostly. It was something that we buy. and we were living in a life in Istanbul in which we were buying different water products according to our budget. Again, in education, health, housing, accommodation, this is all the same. And when income is spread out not equally, this brings huge differences in the way people live. And social policies are, in a sense, systematically trying to alleviate this problem. But of course, the private sector and regulating private sector is also another aspect of social policies. For example, joint ventures and public goods, public properties should be governed with the principles of public good and sustainability. And unfortunately, with the pandemic, earthquake, climate issues, etc., we have to take some precautions. That also falls under the category of social policies. And during the times of crisis, the huge negative effects of the crisis on people should be handled by social policies. Of course, there are different approaches to social policies. I put a lot of importance in social policies based on people and based on rights. This is an accepted approach in Turkey mostly. And as I said in the beginning of my speech, the primary responsibility of the government aspect comes into play. So social policies should be based in law. It's a part of a social contract. So the responsibilities and rights should be clearly explained for people. So it is important to be equal in front of the law, and everyone should be able to access equal opportunities regardless of their gender, race, ethnicity, or sexual orientation. And that is only possible with a government based on rule of law. And one of the main goals of social policies is to make life more predictable in a way. Let's say you are going through a great problems and you're a poor family. You need to see the future for yourself and for your family, and social policies should make that possible for you. For example, more systematic, sustainable support should be given rather than one-time payments, for example, to be able so that you can see the future and foresee it. And also the administrational mechanisms should be open. Let's say I live in a district, certain district. I apply to social aid. My neighbor also applies to it. But for example, my neighbor gets the support, social aid, but I don't. And in that case, I should be able to use administrational mechanisms. If that doesn't work, I should be able to go to the legal mechanisms. So in the municipalities, when it comes to social policies, I don't want to focus Turkey too much because we also have international participants, but we are a part of an institution in Turkey, so I have to talk about that. So in Turkey, social policies mean different things for different people, but we have to explain it more clearly. For some people, it's about responding to social needs. So it's about municipalities acting more flexible, unlike the central government, which can be slow to react. For some people, it's about more inclusive, democratic management. But again, we have some general issues, overarching issues like climate change or gender inequality. So it's difficult to fight against these problems with the power of the government. So how can we fight against them? With the municipalities only. This is something that we need to discuss. And also there are inequalities between the municipalities when it comes to budgets and power. For example, in a district with a high potential of taxing, it will be easier to do these approaches, but think of another municipality with a very little tax income. It would be difficult for them to do the same things. So they change, they vary a lot. So there are some places like Turkey where central government is more powerful, and there are also places like United Kingdom where local governments have more power and authority. So both models have advantages and disadvantages. So, and I would like to talk about a few issues about social policies and municipalities. One of them is financing of services. So I think it's important that financing is conducted mostly through central government, because this can alleviate the inequalities of financing between the municipalities. Because in a way the government spreads out finance equally to different district municipalities. For example, the tax income in the Beşiktaş and Ümraniye district should not remain in those districts only, but can be spread out to other municipalities with less income. And also, I think different municipalities should have different approaches and different levels of authority when it comes to different social policies. For example, the fact that retirement is mostly handled by central government is great. But for example, at-home care services are usually mostly handled by municipalities, and I think that's meaningful. That's the correct way to go about it. Because at-home care, the needs you have for at-home care can vary a lot between person to person, and it's difficult to standardize that. Okay, I'm going to be finishing it in about 2 minutes. So I think in that social care example, we can use the flexibility of the municipalities. But that doesn't mean the municipalities can do whatever they please when it comes to social services. As I've said before, there's a social contract here. For example, daycare services. If one municipality has it and the other does not, that's not acceptable. We need standardized methods to that. And also the standardization of the approaches of municipalities. For instance, the issue of disabled elderly people. We ratified the agreement of the UN in this. When one municipality follows those standards and the other does not, that's not acceptable. And also vocational standards are a great issue in Turkey. The employment of social service experts is very important, because when you employ those people, you automatically follow and accept those principles. For example, if you employ the management department of management graduates in that place, it won't work as intended. I want to finish it for now. I would like to continue later if there are any questions. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for using your time efficiently. Hopefully other participants will do the same. Okay, now we can continue with you, Mr. Kemal Deniz Bozkurt. An important question was raised by Mr. Volkan Yılmaz about the efficiency of municipalities on social policies. Maybe you can also answer that. Of course, the efficiency of municipalities is not only determined by municipalities themselves. Even though municipalities are autonomous, technically, in practice they are not, financially and administrationally. They are connected to the central government and they have to follow those principles. So not everything is on the hands of the municipalities. It's also about the space we have. But municipalities have to be more active. In my opinion, municipalities should have the sole autonomy when it comes to the building and architecture in their districts. And I believe they should have the sole responsibility in other areas as well. As I've said before, the success here requires that municipalities have the autonomy and also actively involved. We said what goes around comes around as a theme of this session. In line with that, I can give you some examples from Esenyurt municipality, district municipality. But first I would like to thank our Secretary General and Marmara Municipalities Union. I think this is a great project, great event. We should come together more and share our experiences and best practices. I was elected to become the district mayor of Esenyurt, in which about 1 million Turkish citizens and about 300,000 foreigners live. It has people from all over Turkey, but mostly people from the Black Sea region and the Marmara region of Turkey live here, and also eastern parts. When it comes to foreigners, we mostly have Syrian people, people from Afghanistan, Iraq, and Uganda. Many people from different countries live here. So I can say that we have a varied background of ethnicities. And in a way, it's also an area like almost like a laboratory. You can look into it and get a sense of the differences. And seeing that people from different backgrounds live here show us how that's possible. But when we talk about what goes around comes around, it's like agriculture. You put the goods in and you work on it and then you get the benefits, rewards. And regarding Esenyurt, once again, when it comes to demographics, we mostly have young people living in. And we call it the district of hope because many young people are here. And of course we have issues when it comes to income inequality in general in Turkey, and it's a district where lower income people live mostly. So as Mr. Volkan Yılmaz mentioned, in order to get those benefits that he mentioned, we are working hard, but we also have some barriers in front of us. When we took over the administrations, we had about 545 million in income, but unfortunately about 2.2 billion debt was also present, and there were also some lawsuits against us. And we had issues. For example, our director of health wasn't even from the field of health. We had a lot of administrative issues similar to this, but we wanted to ensure that people can live together and where people can accept each other rather than trying to become like each other. And we also wanted to make it a place where everyone can work hard and look to the future with hope. And we tried to create a district where barriers are removed in front of people. And to realize that, firstly, we tried to improve the structure of the organization. We had a lot of debt, as I mentioned. To refinance it, to change that, to reverse it, you have to change the financial structure. And so when it comes to those lawsuits, most of them we lost. So we had to change our perspective and change the way of doing business. And also when it comes to the educating the personnel, following the legislation, and ensuring that people use the resources in the best way possible. But in parallel to that, I mentioned why we are in politics. Okay, so there's a great deal of unemployment. We have to create areas where people can be employed. And to do that, we started vocational training courses. And we have the capacity of 15,000 people can get educated in their vocation, and then with the certificates they receive, they can find work. And again, about 22,000 people were employed by us directly without any need for certificate, and we had to act fast on that. But as we've said before, people need to accept each other as they are, and where they can show the will to live together. So we had a lot of projects regarding that, on peace and safety. And again, we have other traditional projects to prevent unemployment and also to reconnect with our past, and also ensuring the continuation of the vocations that feed from that. And also I would like to talk about participatory democracy, because I mentioned the mistakes of the past, which shows the uncontrolled developments and uncontrolled events that took place. So to combat that, we started working on a participatory budget, and we collaborated with NGOs, the district muhtar's offices, and other stakeholders to find out what the needs of this district are and what we can do to answer to those needs. And again, similarly, we collaborated with the Municipality of Barcelona on wealth sharing and on the sharing of the universal income. And we talked about how we should act, and in order to learn from their experiences, we did a project called Bionka, which this project also continues as of today. I can talk about many different individual projects, but what we are trying to do is to provide a place where people can express themselves freely as individuals, and also a place where people can support themselves. For instance, at-home care services, hospital transportation services, and social aid. We did a lot of infrastructure improvements, but not in a way that they will be needing those aid for the long term, but rather to ensure that they can support themselves after a while, rather than needing social aid all the time. Your time is also elapsed. Okay, I am quickly finishing up. So, municipalities should have the autonomy when it comes to administrational and financial management. With constant worries we have, it's difficult to manage everything correctly. And also when it comes to using of resources, we make a lot of mistakes. For example, the issue of schools. Students are receiving education in crowded classrooms, but it's not possible to educate them. But for example, the areas to construct schools are distributed by the National Ministry of Education, and there's a complex management here, but you have to clearly define these problems so that everybody can know what they're supposed to do. And with the changes to the law on municipalities, we can start working on that, and then we can work on accountability. Because when everyone is responsible from a certain issue, then no one is responsible, because it's not clear who will do what. Without taking your time further, I would like to thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of other participants and our audience, I have a note on my display. I think Ms. Inci will share her presentation. Our colleagues might help her with the arrangement. Now this is your time. Thank you very much, dear President. I want to deliver a presentation. I think they made an adjustment for that. There is this note. I think now everyone can see my presentation, right? Yes, Professor, we do. Okay, thank you. I would like to thank Marmara Municipalities Union for this beautiful organization. My topic is about the play of social capital accumulation in municipality governance. Aktepe neighborhood application, a survey application is my topic. The objective of this study is to ensure that we determine the importance and role of the neighborhood focus in the governance of that neighborhood. And we looked at 351 people, having one-on-one surveys with them in Aktepe neighborhood with a population of 2,143 people in Malatya Akçadağ. There are 3 subgroups, and there are 47 questions here. Group A questions are about the demographic information. Group B questions are about the social capital characteristics, and There are multiple questions here. Group C questions are 32 questions with 5 Likert scale, and here the main goal is to understand the current social capital accumulation. The Group B questions is about the type, and then you see the relevant assessment. The first question is about the importance of municipality governance in sustainable local development. When we say sustainable local development, we talk about the reasonable and effective management of the local resources. And here we need a smart management to achieve these targets, and local governance is the main concept used by the World Bank in 1992 under the report titled Governance and Development. So they are used like synonyms, and the main principles are determined here. When we say local governance, we actually talk about participatory understanding, where we have horizontal relationships and an interactive partnership. So we talk about the giving an opportunity to help the local area shape their economic and social future. It's bottom to top, and also local governance is about participatory democracy and its strengthening. Municipalities are closest to the local citizens, institutions, and organizations, and they have an idea about the local knowledge, and they are part of the central management, and they are actually have a determinant role in terms of the foundation and functioning of cities. And municipalities have things to do here to ensure that democratic participation is taking place, that they deliver necessary training and communicate necessary information so that citizens can keep up with the change, or they can create awareness, or they can create a cooperative or collaborative environments in the local scene. So when we talk about a good local governance, we can actually say that social capital is a must. Here, enhancing current social capital of municipalities or creating new social capitals requires opening new channels, creating interfaces, and also forming new tools. The municipality itself is an interface. Why social capital then? Social capital means that the public services are actually strengthen the social capital by reinvesting these services. This collaborative approach between the civil society, government, and companies impact sustainable development very well. COVID-19 highlighted the importance of social resilience, as social capital plays an important role there. Also, social capital has many definitions resulting from sociology, but it is used in many fields now. The World Bank has this definition. It is a glue that keeps the society together, it says, and it focuses on relationships. So when we talk about individuals, society, information, actually they obtain identity, strength, and information. They increase their capacity. Social capital is complementary, and social capital is a common good of the society, and it needs to be renewed, and it loses value if it is not used. And there are varieties of social capital. According to this network understanding, the types would be as follows. Binding social capital concerns family, individuals, and other members. It's a horizontal one. Bridging social capital is about goal, And then we talk about linking social capital, which is both horizontal and vertical, and official relationships are a form of it. And here the main objective is to ensure that one can access the resources of the institutions, whereas otherwise they can't. Here there are elements of social capital: trust, norms, and uh, bounds or ties are the components of social capital. So these are both the reason and outcome of social capital. Of course, social capital has many benefits: creating cooperation and coordination, increasing democratic participation, decreasing costs, also preventing resource waste, quick decision taking, resolving disputes, bringing up new innovative ideas, and overcoming risks. Social capital has this many benefits, but also undesired outcomes. For example, social relationships that use the ties of the society in an unequal way, or social support and opportunities might be limited when social capital is structured accordingly. What is emphasized here is that the governance principles play a critical role in the minimization of the negative impacts of social capital. Participation, transparency, accountability principles play an important role in terms of decreasing inequalities. So, democratic structures can actually further strengthen governance when they are involved in social capital. So, for municipalities to have social capital, they should act like catalysts rather than controllers, or they can show the way rather than creating limits, or they can actually facilitate accessibility rather than acting as suppliers. So they can actually create such things by establishing a social capital. So the unwanted outcomes of social capital can be minimized with a good governance, and here that good governance can take place with social capital accumulation. Now, on the back of this information, I would like to move on to our survey, which was conducted in Akçadağ municipality of Malatya in Akçata neighborhood. Sorry, can you wrap up the survey part very quickly, Professor? Sorry to interrupt. Sure, thank you, Miss Professor Ozan. So here we talk about Group A questions, and here we see a closed group with majority of them being married. There is this young age group. Literacy rates are low. High school, primary school, and the ratios are as follows. And unemployment is 11% one among the participants, respondents of the journey, and they have a very low income, below 4,000 or 2,000 liras. In type B questions, we looked at the type of social capital enjoyed by the neighborhood. 87% feel themselves closest to their family, neighbors, or close friends, or they share their financial difficulties with that close group. 25% of them says they found jobs through İşkur, the labor institution of Turkey, and 19% said they found job actually through private organizations or specific organizations. So they have actually a social capital in terms of their relationships and employment. Now we looked at 4 subgroups in municipality in type C questions. We wanted to understand whether the municipality had a social capital for the participation of Aktepe neighborhood. 65% says they agree. I mean, municipality actually has a social capital with 65%. 28% says they cannot afford, and the others have not attended at all. Then we discussed whether they created any interfaces, whether they have participation in the town council. There's this association of local administrations, muhtars, in this neighborhood, and 63% say that they agree with increased participation. 23% says they don't have any idea, and 13% say they don't agree with this definition. These are all average figures. As for the disadvantaged groups, 67% said yes, but the number of challenged people, disabled people, was very low. That's why maybe we see such an answer. 23% has no idea, and 10% says they don't agree. In the last group, we looked at whether partnership impacts participation. Almost 66% said yes, they definitely agree. 22% doesn't have an idea. 12% said they don't agree. So in conclusion, social capital accumulation needs to be strong for a good local governance. And 60% of the residents say that the municipality has a uniting social capital accumulation. The most important example is the Muhtars Association, which provides an interface. What can be the recommendations? In the post-COVID world, online systems matter significantly, and municipalities need to carry out relevant activities, develop such policies so that they can contribute to the formation of social capital accumulation. Also, they can create models that contribute to employment. That would be my recommendation. By the way, Deputy Mayor of Akçadağ Municipality, Mr. Eyüp, helped us a lot with this survey. I would like to thank him and thank you for your attention. Thank you very much, Professor. We have obtained valuable information from you. I took certain notes, but we have limited amount of time. That's why I would like to invite Mr. Osman from Kalbi Selim Education, Culture and Solidarity Association. If we have any time, we will ask questions. We will ask you questions. Thank you. We cannot hear you, Mr. Osman. Your microphone is off. Can you hear me now? Yes, please. I would like to start by thanking Marmara Municipalities Union on behalf of my community for holding such a meaningful organization. Our moderator, Professor Hasan, and dear presidents and dear professors, I greet you all respectfully and cordially, and I also greet all the people, kind-hearted people watching us cordially. As Kalbi Selim Association, we provide services in Bursa. Our association has approximately 40,000 registered members. It means 6,000 families. As Kalbi Selim Association, what are the things we do? Let me communicate what we do there. As Kalbi Selim Association, we provide material and cash support to families, and during the pandemic we delivered many services. Unfortunately, our citizens, brothers, sisters contracted coronavirus. We work 24 hours, 7 days for them to meet their needs, and we still continue our activities in that sense. The institutions involved Bursa Governor's Office, Directorate General for Immigration, under governorships of other directorates and NGOs in a coordinated fashion. And in addition, for out-of-school students, we have relevant activities in place. Public training courses take place in the evenings, and for orphan brothers and sisters who came from Syria after losing their parents in war, we provide trainings. We take care of them. And the children, we reach out to go through serious traumas, unfortunately, because of losing their parents in war. They don't attend normally school, especially girls. As Bursa Governor's Office and National Police, we had this organized action so that they attend schools and get adapted to Turkish culture, customs, and cities. And we enabled almost 300 brothers and sisters to attend school. It's great that they can attend evening courses. We place huge importance to Turkish so that they learn about Turkish and Turkish cultures and customs. We arrange meetings and seminars for that end. As we help, of course, there is this critical aspect. Their origin, language, religion, ethnicity are not actually determining for us, and we bring together people who want to do good and who need that good activity. So rather than just asking for money, we ask individuals to provide direct help to people in need at our association, and that means a great opportunity. People are trying to do good with comfort. For example, a citizen wants to sacrifice an animal. They say, I want to sacrifice it. We say, okay, let's do it with the person needing that. And we help them as they sacrifice the animal and distribute it to their home. And our association plays here a pioneering role. And there are many people benefiting from help. Also, we pay attention to education and training, and here we teach unemployed women to catch fish rather than eat fish. For example, a woman says, I am unemployed. We say, what do you normally do? She says, I'm a tailor. We ask them whether you will do tailor work if we buy a sewing machine for them. They say, of course. And again, with the help of benevolent people, we buy them sewing machines and they try to stand on their feet. Also, we find employment for people who lack that, and their insurances, of course, are paid correctly. We have a wide range of activities, but I do not mean to take up too much of your time. Inshallah, hopefully when you come to Bursa, you are going to be able to see our services where they are delivered. I would like to take the opportunity to extend my gratitude to Marmara Municipalities Union as well as yourself for organizing this event. Thank you very much, Professor. I grasp that you are done with your remarks. We have still a short while We do not have any questions yet, though. If you want to share your opinions with a few more sentences, I would like to take them. By the way, if you don't blink, Mr. Volkan, I will think that you placed a photo there and left the room. It's quite interesting that you stand still like that. So, if you have any questions, let's take them. Otherwise, we can finish the program. You expect us to follow the same order, right, Professor? Yeah, please, go ahead. Well, I didn't say the very last thing I meant to share. Let me start there. The local administration perspective requires us to remember what the public sector really is. Sometimes we think of it as a civil society and sometimes as private sector. I mean, that's how it is managed, and it applies to all the political parties. I think we should remember what the public sector really is. Okay, thank you very much. Mr. President, thank you. Well, we have many issues, but almost all of them can be resolved. We should act according to our needs rather than our concerns as we try to resolve them. I mean, if we can pull it off, then we can ensure that we live in brotherhood, sisterhood, in prosperity, in peace within Turkey. And municipalities should make people stand on their feet rather than having their requirements met. I think we will be solving these problems very quickly as long as we share, we collaborate, and we join democracy together. Thank you very much. Miss Inci, Professor Inci, you are muted, Professor. Yes. Thank you, Professor Hasan. Well, for sustainable development, municipalities play a major role, I believe. Effective governance and strong social capital can help sustainable development moving forward. Thank you. Okay, Mr. Osman, do you have anything to add? You are muted as well. Well, I do not have anything to add. Thank you very much. I wish auspicious activities for all of us. I greet you all respectfully. Okay, I would like to thank you very much. I took a lot of notes. I am a municipality person as well, and there were two important highlights for implementation. Governance, unless we take decisions by ourselves, if we share, we can resolve majority of problems, we said. And Mr. Osman talked about teaching how to fish rather than giving those people fish. And all our speakers highlighted that we should teach people how to stand on their feet rather than always meeting their requirements. Ending it earlier. Thank you very much, dear professors. Thank you. I wish all of you enjoyable day. Thank you.